afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome back to Sip&Talk.
Hey, everyone. So great to be here.
I am incredibly pumped for today's topic, but before we get into the heavy stuff, I was actually just thinking about our buddy Mickey.
Oh, man, yes. Mickey's European Adventures.
Exactly. So for those who don't know, his YouTube channel, Mickey to Life, is just awesome. He's currently on episode 24, kind of just wandering around Belgium.
The architecture in those videos is just stunning.
It really is, but and here's the funny part. Rumor has it that he's actually already edited all the way up to episode 31.
Wait, really? He's just sitting on 7 unreleased episodes?
Yeah, he's totally hoarding them.
Yeah.
He is locked in this epic, frustrating battle with the YouTube algorithm right now, just trying to figure out the right time to post.
Oh, the algorithm is brutal.
It is. So I got to ask, what's your prediction? When is he actually going to release those hidden episodes?
Well, predicting the algorithm is basically impossible. I mean, he'll probably just drop them when we least expect it. Well, speaking of, wild predictions and algorithms, have you noticed how social media lately feels like this bizarre prophecy scene?
Oh, absolutely. You're talking about Professor J, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Jiang Shuokan. You literally cannot escape him on your timeline right now.
It's everywhere.
Sip&Talkers, you know exactly who I'm talking about. He's this guy standing in front of a standard chalkboard in Beijing, teaching at a private high school. And suddenly, he is a massive viral sensation in American conservative media circles.
He literally got an invite from Tucker Carlson.
Exactly, which is wild. And he completely predicted Trump winning in 2024 and the U.S.-Iran conflict. And now that it's 2026, those predictions actually came true. Western fans are literally calling him the Chinese Nostradamus.
That is quite the title to live up to.
It is. But, here's the massive red flag for me. How does someone living in Beijing completely bypass the Great Firewall to broadcast this, inevitable American deceit to the whole world without getting a knock on the door from the authorities?
And that question right there is the exact thread we need to pull first. That's our mission for today's Sip and Talk. We're applying reverse thinking.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, we aren't just going to look at what Professor J says. We need to unpack the hard facts and the highly calibrated behaviors behind his sudden rise. Is this guy a cross-cultural genius, or is this a strategic influence operation?
So where do we even start with that? Because mathematically, his existence online just doesn't make sense.
Right, so to understand the prophecies, you have to understand the environment he operates in. In 2026, under these very strict cybersecurity and anti-espionage laws, the internet reality in China is tightly controlled.
Yeah.
Freedom House consistently ranks it as having the world's most closed internet. Yet, Professor J operates a YouTube channel with millions of subscribers, just casually discussing highly sensitive geopolitics.
It's like someone running a pirate radio station right next to a police precinct.
That is a perfect analogy.
Like, you're blasting controversial political commentary 24/7 and never getting rated. At a certain point, you have to assume the police are paying for the microphones.
Exactly. You're looking at a statistical outlier. And if you look at data from ASPI, the Australian Strategic Policy Institute, they explain that modern influence operations have shifted.
Because nobody trusts the official state media anymore, right?
Exactly. If you see a state government logo, you instantly tune it out.
Yeah.
So instead, they use approved key opinion leaders, or KOLs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. If a creator has the freedom to pierce the firewall without being censored, it implies they have digital immunity, meaning their narrative perfectly aligns with official strategic goals.
Okay, so he essentially gets a state-sponsored permission slip to go viral. But what exactly is the narrative he's pushing that the state loves so much?
So he pushes this overarching theme of Western collapse, using the U.S.-Iran war as proof, and pairs it with heavily promoted anti-Semitic conspiracy theories.
Wait, really? Like what?
Like Sabbateanism, and this whole idea of a Jewish shadow government controlling Western democracies.
Hold on, for anyone listening who isn't deep into conspiracy lore, what even is Sabbateanism? Why would a high school teacher in Beijing care about that?
Right, so historically, Sabbateanism was a 17th century messianic movement. But today, it's been completely hijacked by extreme conspiracy theorists. By using these obscure historical terms, Professor J sounds like this brilliant scholar revealing a hidden truth.
Ah, so instead of sounding like an internet troll, he sounds academic.
Precisely. And while he's blaming global instability on Jewish populations, he portrays China merely as a peaceful bystander focused on economic growth. It perfectly mirrors the official diplomatic rhetoric about building a human community.
Wow.
It's a strategy called reflexive control. The goal is to feed your adversary information that makes them voluntarily act in your favor. And according to the ADL, shadow government conspiracies reliably spike during times of global instability.
Because people feel out of control and they just want a simple villain to blame. So he is basically acting as a pressure valve. He gives angry Westerners this perfect, elaborate villain so they stay busy arguing on Twitter and Reddit.
Right. They get completely distracted. Wait, what?
I just stubbed my toe? Okay. And while they're looking at that shiny object, nobody pays attention to the military drills happening in the South China Sea. It's a magic trick. The ultimate goal is to foster American isolationism so the public demands the military pull out of Asia.
You nailed it. But for that magic trick to work, the magician needs a convincing wand.
Right.
The propaganda has to look scientifically rigorous.
Which is where his whole framework comes in. And I have to admit, if you work in the tech scene or you're a data enthusiast, his pitch sounds incredibly alluring. He claims to use psychohistory.
Yes, a concept borrowed straight from Isaac Asimov's Foundation sci-fi series.
Yeah. And he drops all these game theory terms, like in the Nash equilibrium, saying he can mathematically predict the actions of individuals, whether it's Trump or Khamenei.
And it sounds amazing until you actually apply academic scrutiny. Let's dismantle this for a second. Asimov's concept of psychohistory required a population of trillions of people across a galaxy to predict broad trends.
Trillions, not 8 billion.
Right. The books explicitly said it could not predict individual choices. And then there's Karl Popper's critique of historical determinism.
Oh, I remember this. You can't predict history because you can't predict future knowledge.
Exactly. If you can't predict the invention of the internet, you can't predict the geopolitics of the next decade.
And what about the Nash equilibrium part? Because a Nash equilibrium is basically when two coffee shops end up pricing their lattes exactly the same because neither wants to risk raising prices and losing customers. It's a static state.
Exactly. It is static. It assumes rational actors playing by fixed rules. It is not a dynamic crystal ball that accounts for geopolitical black swans or irrational heads of state.
Okay, and I got to play devil's advocate here. He did predict the 2025 U.S.-Iran conflict, and his videos literally moved markets. The Bloomberg Panic Index actually spiked based on his sentiment. Doesn't that mean his math kind of works?
Well, yeah.
And real quick, Sip&Talkers, just a disclaimer. Any mention of Bloomberg Panic Indices or non-U.S. asset hedging here is strictly observational. This is a geopolitical discussion, not financial advice. Okay, but back to it. How do we explain his massive hits?
We explain it through confirmation bias and survivor bias. He loudly trumpets his hits to millions of followers, but he goes completely silent on his misses.
Like what?
Like his failed predictions about China's real estate collapse and their population crisis. Those videos just quietly disappear.
Oh, wow. So we only remember the bullseyes and forget the hundreds of darts that hit the wall.
Exactly. And when you have millions of viewers, you aren't predicting the future anymore. You're creating a self-fulfilling psychological expectation of American defeat. The New York Times actually classifies this as gray propaganda. High-quality production, wrapped in Western academic terminology, but obscuring its true purpose.
So the science is just a filter. It's time we rip off that filter and look at the hard physical actions taking place globally in 2026.
Let's do the reality check, starting with Russia.
Okay.
The propaganda claims the invasion of Ukraine is about preventing NATO expansion, a pursuit of justice.
But the reality is completely different. UN resolutions have repeatedly condemned it as illegal. And according to CSIS, we're looking at a staggering 1.2 million Russian casualties.
And look at their behavior. In February 2026, Russia launched 400 drones and 40 missiles at Ukraine's power grid, freezing millions of civilians.
And they've looted, 60% of Ukraine's coal?
Yep, and 2/4 of Europe's richest lithium deposits. The behavior proves it's a war of resource theft, not justice.
Right, so that's the lie of justice. What about the lie of peace with China?
The propaganda preaches a peaceful rise. But the facts show that despite economic slowdowns, China's 2026 defense budget spiked 7% to $278 billion.
Wow.
Prioritizing hypersonic missiles over social welfare.
And the Justice Mission 2025 drills pushed within 24 nautical miles of Taiwan. Plus, ISW reports record-high harassment in the South China Sea.
Exactly. Scarborough Shoal, Second Thomas Shoal. And they use nature reserves as legal warfare to absorb contested waters.
There is a massive gap between the peaceful narrative in that air-conditioned broadcast room in Beijing and the spreadsheet showing a 7% bump in military spending and millions of freezing kids.
Which brings us to the tragedy of the Middle East, the ultimate reality check.
Right, because this is the conflict Professor Jay uses as his main distraction tool.
Rejecting the secret society conspiracies means grounding this in facts. The current conflict stems directly from the horrific October 7 Hamas terror attack, where 1,200 were killed and 250 hostages taken.
And in response, the IDF destroyed 5 kilometers of core tunnels, but the humanitarian cost is just devastating.
It is. By March 2026, HRW and the UNOHCHR reported 69,000 deaths in Gaza. By August 2026, famine was declared, and strict limitations on aid at the Rafah crossing are actually being investigated by the ICC as potential war crimes.
This is where the eye for an eye reality gets incredibly painful. A state absolutely has the right to survive terror, but where is the line drawn so it doesn't become collective punishment of civilians?
That is the crucial question. And emphasizing these grim statistics isn't about taking sides. It's about rejecting the cheap, propagandized conspiracy theories sold by people like Professor Jay and actually acknowledging the true, tragic cost of global conflict.
So Professor Jay is not a prophet. His operation is a precisely fed, state-sanctioned Trojan horse.
Tailored propaganda.
Designed to make audiences feel a false sense of comfort in Western decline while completely ignoring real-world military expansion.
Exactly.
And I want to be super clear here. This Sip and Talk is not meant to criticize or discriminate against any nation or its people. We are just pleading for independent, critical thinking based on objective international facts.
We welcome different perspectives, but you have to bring your facts, not your narratives.
Sip and Talkers, we want to hear from you. Sound off in the comments. Do you think military drills in the South China Sea are defensive? Does a 1.2 million casualty count equal national security for Russia?
Let us know what you think.
And I want to leave you with this provocative thought. If complex geopolitical realities can be successfully repackaged by algorithms into a digestible sci-fi prophecy for millions, what other unquestioned truths on your timeline are actually just well-funded influence campaigns?
Definitely something to think about next time you're scrolling.
For sure. All right, don't forget to subscribe to the Sip and Talk podcast. And seriously, go check out Mickey's newest travel vlogs on the Mickey to Life YouTube channel so he finally drops those new episodes.
Yes, save him from the algorithm.
Catch you next time.